After we reviewed on a classical theory of work motivation, let's move on to talk about some new phases, the recent research on work motivation. There are two major new theories on work motivation. The first one is the prosocial motivation, and the second one is the procrastination of theory. The prosocial motivation theory stands for whether the employees would have the motivation to help others, because it's not only what's in it for me, but also we have to stand for the benefit in helping others. The prosocial motivation theory posits that ideas that people are not motivated purely by self-interest. People are motivated at work by helping others, like firemen, like the healthcare service providers, or some other voluntary work, etc. Why people have the high level of the work motivation? Not purely by the self-interest. Instead, they have the motivation to help others. The key point for the prosocial motivation is that the motivation to make a positive difference for others. People in many types of a job will put themselves out of the others. And the desire to help others may motivate the choice of the jobs, because people's the great motivation is to helping others. And so that's why they are more likely and willing to sacrifice some basic needs like pay and physical security in order to take a job. People's prosocial motivation has been demonstrated in Alan Grant's paper in the year 2000 in research. He did an experiment on the hand washing experiment. The hand hygiene prevents people from catching the diseases, so this is the self-interest motivation. But some people will also do the hand hygiene because they're aiming to prevent patients from catching diseases. So these are the prosocial motivations. What's the implication of the prosocial motivation theory? To promote motivation, the job can be decided to include the opportunity to benefit others. That's why you can see that some of the organizations will implement the corporate social responsibility policy so that it will allow people to feel that their contribution will make a difference. Allow the employees to do something that they think is beneficial and contribute to others. Second, if possible, can also allow to have some contact with the beneficiaries. And so this will make people care more about making a difference, because having a closer contact with someone who received the benefit will make a more motivation to motivate the employees to work better. In that, we can see that this is a new application for work motivation in the sense that it provides a different and less egocentric view of the motivation. And it has the stronger evidence for the theories that in that it is quite important and people like to make something different and beneficial to the others. If you're interested, you can take a look in some of the research, like Adam Grant's research in 2011 and his research in the year 2008. It also shows that some occupations like firefighters or nurses, healthcare staff are also willing to work overtime so that in order to help others. But is everyone motivated prosocially? It really depends, because people might self-select into prosocial jobs, but not all the people have the willingness and also will have less egocentric field of the motivation. So it doesn't mean that it really helps to motivate employees. In addition, in some of the occupation, if they're asked to help some others, are those in other jobs so bolder about helping others? Probably they are not welcome for the employees. So again, it depends on different situation and different people's preference. Another very interesting and new theory is the procrastination theory. The idea of that is people are motivated against things as well as towards things. The key issue is people are motivated at work to avoid undesirable tasks. It makes sense because no one would like to do some undesirable task. So people are motivated at work in order to avoid some undesirable task towards them. Procrastination is the avoidance of a task one should be doing. And this is the preference of the behavioral force that distract from the aversiveness of the intention. They are trying to avoid doing some undesirable things. And this is the problem of the self-regulation. It's not only about time management. It's the sequel whether the people tend to be over-optimistic and lie to themselves, and they actively seek distraction. And this is a serious problem because it might cause the work performance to suffer, and they would neglect the important task because they keep delaying something. Certain people, we can see that they are relatively low conscientiousness and having a low degree of the self-esteem. And so they like to make things delay. The evaluation of the theory is that they will lead to the poor performance. In some of the research has already demonstrated that the undergraduate students, if they are having the high level of the procrastinations, and so it's more associated with the poor assignment grade. And of course, more research should be leaded on the situational factors that would explain why people would like to have this assumption and motivation. Why are they doing that? One of the key points is they will try to forgive themselves. Self-forgiveness will reduce the negative affect. They don't think that, this is a big problem. So that's why they keep doing this. The implication of this theory, the managers must try to reduce the procrastination against the employees to maintain high performance. Some of the people, they have this attendance, they have this intention. So we have to bear in mind, we have to be cautious. Especially, we have to choose someone that is less likely to be procrastinate. So we have to find someone who is well fit to the job. And we have to ensure that the person job fit so that the core job tasks are not aversive. So in the selection process, we have to find someone who has a higher tendency of the procrastination. We avoid hiring those employees. Of course, there are still some challenges for the theories of the motivation. Number one is the individual differences. Because we understand that different people will have different assumptions and interpretations in their motivations. And so even though they are under the same logic, in the same situation, the same context, different people will have different meaning and interpretations of the organization policy. That's why we cannot and we do not have the best rule of thumb to manage employees because people are different. So even though we have the work motivation to explain the general public, however, we cannot 100% sure in what way or how can we drive individual because they are different. Second is about the culture. Do theory applied to different cultural backgrounds will make a difference? The answer is yes. because most of the research focus on the US population. In some of the country, probably they are not the same, especially in the very collectivistic country. And so instead of the individual achievement, we would like to talk about the team instead. One of the examples is the goal setting theory. In the US, probably we were focusing on individual goal setting, but in some other countries it doesn't work. Probably team goals instead of the personal goal is more preferable. Lastly, team working. Are teams motivated in the same way as individual? The answer is it may not. Later, when we talk about the teamwork and the team context, we will touch on this in more detail, and especially talking about individuals' behavior can be very different from the team behavior. In sum, let's do a quick recap, and we can see that the hierarchy of the needs is something that to fulfill their needs. As long as we can fulfill the needs, can help to motivate employees to work harder. Equity theory ensure that their rewards are fair, so in order to motivate the employees. SDT, we need to provide an environment that encourages intrinsic motivation. Goal setting, we need to set them challenging specific goals about performance. Pro-social motivation, the organization, the job itself should give them the opportunity to help others and to see the benefit they have made. And procrastination theory, persistent, we have to ensure that core tasks are not aversive. So all those are the tips that we can learn from in order to motivate employees to work harder. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask. I'm very happy to discuss with you. As I said that, the work motivation theory is very interesting and it's the core content in organizational psychology because the ultimate goal is on how to understand people's behavior and influence the behavior in order to achieve the organizational goal. I hope you enjoyed this class, the topic on work motivation. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again next week.